Welcome back to SAMMcast, the podcast by the Students Association of Management and Marketing at the University of Melbourne. We aim to be the go-to discussion space for all things considered in the world of management and marketing and how it links to you, your uni life and future career. My name is Steph and I'm very excited to be your host for this episode. This week, we're giving you the exclusive opportunity to hear from some of the fantastic representatives attending SAMM's upcoming annual networking night. The annual networking night offers you an exclusive opportunity to meet and network with company representatives from some of the biggest firms in Australia. Firms attending this year include Deloitte Digital, Accenture, Google, Telstra, Sofitel, L'Oreal, Carlton United Breweries, and more. Our reps on the show today are going to be chatting about their firms, their roles, as well as some handy tips for students attending the night, so listen up everyone. First up, we are joined by Vince from Protiviti. Welcome to the podcast, Vince. Would you like to give us a quick introduction about your career so far and maybe outline your role as a senior consultant at Protiviti?
Yeah, I'm Vince and I'm a senior consultant at Protiviti, and I actually started through the graduate program back in 2017. So I've been here just over 4 years now. So yeah, started as a consultant, now through to senior consultant. And I work primarily in the internal audit space in a number of industries as well, I should say. So the health sector, government and education, as well as utility and energy sectors.
So we're going to jump into a few questions now related to the networking night. So first up, for students and graduates looking to apply at Protiviti, what would you say are the key values and motives at your organisation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the three primary values at our organisation are integrity. So just to being able to commit to doing the right thing in all situations. It's essentially owning up to any mistakes. I'm not saying that you would, but yeah, just ensuring that you do have that integrity. Inclusion is our second one, and that's ensuring that you succeed through teamwork, diversity and respect, and innovation is our final value. And that's just being able to deliver high quality value, which incorporates new ideas and approaches.
Nice, so a very people-orientated culture.
Yes.
Great. And what are some key qualities that you look for or that have stood out to you in the past when networking with students at events like our upcoming annual networking night?
I think the willingness to learn and that proactive behavior is definitely a key attribute. It's going into a new role. You're not going to always know everything. And I think having that attitude to actually be willing to not only take a hold of new opportunities, but learn new skills and continually make new networks during your career is always really important. And also a basic understanding of what the role entails. Obviously, the internal audit consulting world can consist of a lot of different things, but I think just doing a bit of research and gaining a bit of perspective as to what we perform would be great. Yeah, usually highly regarded purely because it's not quite the case with a lot of the students entering the field. So yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah, so just showing an interest, but also not being afraid to ask questions and
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
cool. Are there any current or upcoming intern or grad opportunities that you might like to share with our listeners, and what can interns and grads expect to learn and do?
We are actually currently recruiting our graduate students for next year's cohort. So applications are currently open, and I believe you can find them on any social media platform via LinkedIn, Facebook, for example, if you just follow the relevant pages, as well as our website. So you can definitely go through the links there. But in terms of what you might expect when entering the role, I guess being straight into hands-on experience is always preferable, and that's something that we adopt. So you'll be immediately undertaking audit field work, and that often consists of being part of key discussions in brainstorming sessions. You'll be developing work papers and assisting on data analysis where we can, as well as you'll be introduced to an array of training as well. So we don't often just throw you in the deep end and yeah, just expect you to take a hold of the relevant tasks without any assistance. That's not what we're about. So yeah, we do provide a lot of internal training as you start, as well as we do have our own resourcing center, which we call Protiviti University, which has a array of online modules that can assist you during your audit fieldwork. And it covers such an array of topics that I couldn't even think of a topic that it wouldn't cover. So but yeah, that's essentially what the role will entail as you enter. And obviously getting to know everyone and key networking opportunities are an important aspect as well.
Yeah, great. I'm sure that's very exciting for all our students to hear. So for our final question, from your personal experience in networking, do you have a golden piece of advice maybe you could offer students who will be attending our networking night?
Yeah, this one's a hard question because I don't think there's one key piece of
Yeah.
advice that really stands out, but I think it's just been again that proactive attitude as mentioned earlier, and just ensuring that you're consistently asking relevant professionals about what their career consisted of, because every career journey is quite different. And to be honest, I think the best pieces of information that you'll get is what each person has learnt from their career journeys. So what they wish they had have done if they had known back when they first began, as well as key things they might have actually performed well, and do recommend that to students who are starting their professional journey. So I think just, yeah, again, proactive attitude and getting to know what different career journeys are all about.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today, Vince. I'm sure everyone listening has been able to take away something useful with them. We are looking forward to meeting you at our upcoming networking night.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me again, and looking forward to the event.
Next up, we are joined by Tina from Deloitte Digital. Welcome to the podcast, Tina. Would you like to give us a little introduction about yourself and outline your role as a consultant at Deloitte Digital?
Hi, thanks so much for having me on your podcast. I'm Tina. I work in the marketing, data, and technology team at Deloitte Digital. I joined mid 2019, so I've been here for about almost 2 years now. And we work mainly with marketing transformation and marketing technology.
Nice. For students and graduates looking to apply at Deloitte Digital, what would you say are the key values and motives at your organisation?
So I think obviously we have a lot of different areas in Deloitte Digital, but for the team that I'm in, especially, we really strive to work with the newest technologies and the newest ways of thinking to have our clients solve problems. So I think it's really a good place for people who are interested in like emerging opportunities, the way that different trends impact the world and marketing, and how we can use that to assist our customers.
Yeah, nice. And what are some key qualities that you look for or that have stood out to you in the past when networking with students at events like our upcoming annual networking night?
So I actually gathered some answers from a couple of my colleagues as well. There's three things that we sort of highlighted that we really have noticed. And the first is people who really remain genuine. We can sort of tell when someone's trying really hard to sell themselves, and sometimes it can sort of make the conversation feel rather transactional rather than someone who's like really interested in the company and what we do. The second is someone who comes sort of with an idea of what they're interested in learning about and hearing about, and like having really targeted questions, because at the end of the day, we're there to help them, give them the best information that they need to make decisions. So rather than just sort of making small talk, really like sort of knowing what you want to get out of it and what you want to hear from us about. The third thing is, even if you don't sort of know what you want to do, which is really common with a lot of people, sort of having an idea of like the topics that you're interested in. So maybe, for example, you've seen a lot of trends in privacy, like that might not have anything to do with consulting, but being able to ask questions about that and seeing what opportunities there might be for that, and taking leads where there's possible.
Great, that's some really good advice. Thank you so much. And are there any current or upcoming intern or grad opportunities that you might like to share with our listeners? And what can interns and grads expect to learn and do at Deloitte Digital?
So I think in terms of opportunities at Deloitte Digital, it's really just the ones that we advertise. I don't think there's too many for graduates that we don't advertise out. So I think there's the Deloitte Insider Program, which is for first years, which not a lot of people might know about. It's a really good opportunity to sort of get to know Deloitte as a company before you really decide to apply for a vacationer role or a graduate position. There's the vacationer program. That's for anyone who's not in their final year or their first year of their study. And then obviously the graduate program is for people in their final years of study. I think you can apply even if you're in penultimate sometimes. If you're like a mid-year graduate, you can negotiate your start time. In terms of what you can expect to do when you start as a vacationer or graduate, it definitely varies depending on the team that you're in. Like people in our team's not going to be doing the same things as someone who's a Fed or like in the developer team, who's in the strategy team. Generally, we'll do our best to get you on a client project, because getting that sort of client facing experience is really important. That's like the quintessential consulting experience. And we'll do our best to get you involved in sort of small deliverables and getting into the tools. So if it's a technical project, we'll sort of introduce you to the platforms, show you how everything works, and sort of try and get you to do something small, something that, won't break anything, but you can definitely still get some experience. Or we'll get you to contribute to the actual deliverable that we'll be showing the client. So whether that like a deck we'll be taking to stand up or a showcase or something like that, so that it's really similar to what we usually do on like a day-to-day basis.
Great, that sounds great. That's very insightful. Thank you. And final question, from your personal experience in networking, what is one piece of advice you can give students who will be attending our networking night?
Yeah, I've definitely attended a fair few networking nights when I was in uni. The thing that I think is really important is that a lot of students go into networking nights are sort of focusing on, this is my chance to make connections and get a job. That is all fun and great, but it's really important to take this as an opportunity to sort of interview that business as well and sort of see, especially if the culture, the work-life balance, the type of work is for you, because oftentimes if you're in an interview and you're at that stage, it might not be appropriate to sort of ask certain types of questions. So these are really good opportunities to sort of get to know them as a person, get to know those like informal aspects of the business, and sort of find out the truth, I guess, about like what they do and whether it's for you. And it's not always about getting into a big four. Like, it's great if you do get into a big four, that's sort of what you want to do, and everything that they do aligns with what you want. But just make sure you pursue the kind of work that you enjoy, regardless of who it's for, whether it's a boutique or a big four. And if you do get the job eventually and you find that it doesn't align with your interests or at least general ambitions, there's generally a higher chance you won't enjoy it regardless of the company. So regardless of your pay, like eventually you'll figure out, I don't actually want to be doing this. I'd rather be doing something that I'm really passionate about. So make sure you look out for your future self and apply yourself and work towards something that you're actually interested in and want to be a part of, just so that in the long run, like, you're happy, the company's happy, and you're not wasting any time sort of trying to chase what everyone else is doing or what you think is right.
Great, that's some great advice. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today, Tina, and for your helpful tips and insights. And we look forward to seeing you at the networking night.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much.
Our final guest on the podcast today is Sky from Accenture, who is currently working as a management consulting analyst and will also be attending our annual networking night. So thank you so much for joining us today, Sky. I'll start by getting you to introduce yourself and giving us a little background about your role at Accenture.
Sure. So I think that was a great introduction. So my name is Sky and I work for Accenture. I started in May 2019, so it's nearly been 2 years now. A bit of background about myself. I went to University of Melbourne as well, but I actually did a Bachelor of Arts. So not your typical Bachelor of Commerce. So yeah, I studied psychology, anthropology, and also did French, which is a little bit different. And you wouldn't think typically would be going into consulting afterwards. But here I am now at Accenture, I guess.
Yeah, no, good to hear that we've got someone coming from a different degree, but also getting into consulting. In the past, when you've networked with different students, what would you say are some key qualities that have stood out to you or things that you tend to look for?
Yeah, some key qualities that I usually look for in students are those that actually ask about the mission or the values of the company and reflect on those to understand if they themselves are a good fit for the company. So usually within the recruitment process, that's what the company does with, each of the people that they're interviewing. But I really respect individuals that actually think, is this the right company for me to work in as well? So that's one thing I look for. Another thing I look for is that I look for students that are curious and ask a lot of questions. And then some extra things are also students that have a diversity of experiences. So things such as student exchange, which is a bit hard to do during COVID now, but also things such as casual and part-time jobs. So it doesn't really matter what the job is, because at the end of the day, experience is experience. So yeah, so those are some things that I usually look for in students.
Okay, cool. And that's kind of segued into my next question. So for students and graduates who are looking to apply at Accenture, what would you describe your key values at the organisation to be?
Yeah, so Accenture actually just recently released a new purpose and mission, and that is to deliver on the promise of technology and also human ingenuity. So that means that we want to embrace the power of change to create a 360 value for our clients, for our people and communities. What that all means is really our motives are creating client value creation, being one global network, respecting the individual for the individual, attracting and retaining the best people, and having integrity in what we do and deliver. And lastly, stewardship. So all of that really comes together where Accenture wishes to build a future of success on a global scale through things such as social impact, being environmentally conscious, corporate citizenship, so volunteering, and then also having an inclusive and safe workplace where everyone feels that they belong. So yeah, that's kind of what Accenture stands for and how we want to carry out the work that we do.
Nice. And what can an intern or graduate expect from a role in your field or just in general at Accenture? And are there any current or upcoming opportunities that you might like to share with our listeners?
I'll speak to my personal experience, I guess. So when I first started, it was a super steep learning curve for the first month or so. So you'll learn a lot of new things at a very fast pace initially, but that's because Accenture is willing to give responsibility and accountability to graduates at such an early stage. So it's kind of nice to be trusted, I guess. But over time, look, you'll feel comfortable in the learning environment at the pace that it goes at, and there's heaps of support. So I guess some opportunities that you could probably take while working at Accenture is that you work on projects with clients that you interact with on an everyday basis. So think of industries such as retail, travel, resources, financial services, so banks, consumer goods and services, so food. Yeah, the list goes on. So definitely very relatable when you work on these clients. And finally, I think if you're willing to, you can also expect to contribute to a lot of key communities within the company. So I mentioned it briefly before within our values, but there's a lot of communities in Accenture such as sustainability, corporate citizenship, and inclusion and diversity. So yeah, that's what you can expect from working at Accenture as a grad.
That sounds great. With your experience over the years in networking, is there one piece of advice that you can give students who will be attending our networking night?
Yeah, I just want to say probably just be genuine, be yourself, be inquisitive, and be confident to talk to these professionals and ask a lot of questions while you're there. Like they're there to help you and they decide, I guess, what professional path that you want to take. But also have fun and have fun building those connections. Don't be afraid to also contact those professionals after the event because networking isn't just about meeting people oneself, it's about maintaining those relationships over time.
All right, that was some fantastic advice, guys. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the podcast today. And we're super excited to see you at our networking night.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and I'm super excited as well. See you then.
See ya. That is all for this episode on our annual Networking Night podcast. I'm sure after hearing this episode, we are all very eager to get the chance to meet these fantastic reps, as well as many others who we are lucky enough to be joined by at our networking night. If you are interested in joining us at this event, make sure you head to SAMM's Facebook page to secure your ticket, but be quick as tickets are selling out fast. Thank you for listening to this episode of SAMMcast. Stay tuned for future episodes where we delve into more interesting topics in the world of marketing and management.